So, here's the thing. Today was I don't know if you guys know. Maybe you, maybe you pay attention to stuff. Maybe not. How you doing, Nehemiah? Good to see you. But I had I woke up. I went to bed last night, and I slept well. Had good dreams. I'm sure I dreamed about Beyonce or something, right? I'm kidding. I don't dream about Beyonce. I dream about the queen that is in my house. Anyway, whatever I was dreaming about, it was good because I always sleep well, and I always wake up feeling refreshed and ready to go. And I get up and I reach over and I look at my phone, and that's the first thing I do a lot of times. I don't know if that's a bad or a good thing, but that's just what I do. So I look at my phone, and there's a text message, and it's from my dad. And in the text message, my dad says to me and my sister and my brother, he says your uncle Charles was killed last night in a car crash. And I remember it was one of those messages where you look at it and you just don't believe that you see what you're seeing. You don't even It doesn't even seem real. It still doesn't seem real. It's like, wait a minute, what? And when someone says somebody's dead, that's different from somebody saying, okay, they're hurt, they're injured, they're in the hospital. We got to all rush to the hospital so we can all get together and pray and hope that everything's gonna be all right. It wasn't like that. It's like it's over. He's gone. He's dead. And it just reminded me of the finality of death. And it was obviously sad. I shed some of my tears on the airplane. I'm sure the black stewardess was looking at me like I was crazy, but I just started thinking about it, and that's when the tears started coming down a little bit. And my uncle Charles was very close to me. He was a lot like me. He was one of my relatives that reminded me of myself. So when somebody who reminds you of yourself dies, it's almost like you die. Like you almost imagine you dying yourself. Like when my best friend Greg, my best friend was murdered in 1996. His name was Greg Wilkins out of Louisville, Kentucky. He was killed and shot in the head in front of his daughter, right in his own house, by people that he did not know. And when Greg died, because we were so much alike, and I had just seen him a couple of days earlier and everything else, I pictured myself in his shoes, and because I know how he would have, and how my uncle would have reacted if you were to have told them a week before, like, oh, you're going to be killed next week, you're going to die in a car crash, you're going to get shot in the head. They would have reacted the way I would react, like, what? Oh my God, are you serious? And so anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about my Uncle Charles, he was literally one of the first two black males I ever met in my life. My father, my biological father, wasn't really in my life much. I don't remember him if he was ever around. And my two uncles were the main two first two males that I met, besides and then there's my mother, my aunt, my grandmother. And both of those men are now gone. Both of them died. One died in 2012. The other one died in yesterday. And so, and it was a crazy day for a death like that to happen, because it also happened to be a day we were already sad that day, because that's the day of my grandmother's birthday. And we all still miss my grandmother. You guys have heard me talk about my grandmother, Felicia, who was the first person to teach me about financial literacy. And I keep her alive by talking about her. I love to keep her legacy alive. So I created a scholarship at Freedom Home Academy International in her name, just things like that, because it helps me to keep her alive, right? And to pay tribute to the person who created the legacy. And this is where I'm going with this. It's not just about me. It's really about you, but I want to kind of help you shape this and understand my thinking on this. So it was already a crazy day, because the day he died was a day of his mother's birthday. And also it happened to be amazingly, sadly enough, his 41st wedding anniversary. So he and his wife, Janice, had made it through 41 years of marriage, which most people can't even make it through 41 days of marriage, or 41 weeks of marriage. They made it through 41 years. They were married way back in the 80s, and it ends like this. They're on the phone, hey, okay, so tonight we're gonna go out to dinner for our anniversary. Okay, I can't wait to see you. All right, I'll see you in 30 minutes. Next thing you know, 3 hours, 2 hours go by, 3 hours go by. She doesn't hear from him. She's calling his phone. He's not answering. And you're always wondering if the worst happened. You start worrying about the worst, and she calls the police and finds out that the worst did happen. So it was just kind of a really terrible situation to happen at a really, really terrible time. The fact that it happens around Thanksgiving means every Thanksgiving is going to be ruined, right? Every Thanksgiving you'll start thinking about this. And then on top of that, to top it all off, his wife's birthday is exactly 1 week from today. His sister's birthday is exactly when we put today from today. So so the car crash comes on his mother's birthday, which happens to be his 41st wedding anniversary, which is exactly 1 week before his wife's birthday and his sister's birthday, and also in Thanksgiving, right? So nobody plans for this kind of thing. This is not something that anybody would wish on their worst enemy. It's not something that we ever think is going to happen to us. Most of us get in the car and we just assume we're going to get where we're going to get to. We say, I'll be back in a little while, and you assume that that's what's going to happen. You're not thinking, maybe I won't come back. Maybe this will be the car ride that will be my last car ride. And there's millions of people who go through that every year, where they take they take a car ride, they think they're going around to the store. Next thing you know, they're never coming back. And what this led me to process is, and by the way, thank you, Mel Wills and Mojo. I appreciate your support. What made me think about was this. It made me process, kind of the way death sort of happens. Death is a terribly inconvenient reality. We all know that we're all going to die at some point. It's no secret, it's no surprise. Even though we live as if we live as if we don't know we're going to die, but we all know we're going to die. So it's like logically and rationally, we know at some point everybody, ends up in the grave. But we kind of live each day. We don't think it's going to happen tomorrow, right? We don't think it's going to happen this month. We don't think it's going to happen this year most of the time. But we know it's going to happen at some point in the future. And one of the things that often happens is that because we're assuming, we're like, okay, yeah, I know I'm going to die. I'm going to die one day. We're focused on, one, but really we're not thinking about two, right? I know I'm going to die one day, but I don't think I can die today, right? Like you see what I mean? Like, that it's going to happen, but you don't believe it's going to happen this, today. You don't believe it's going to happen this week. You don't believe it's going to happen this month. And what happens is that many of us do not plan for our transition. We don't have anything in order in terms of, wills, trusts, estate planning, transition planning, nothing's in place. I mean, I want you to really just be honest with yourself for a minute. And I want you to really ask yourself, what if tomorrow, my child or my mother or my friend or my wife or my daughter, my whatever, gets a text message saying, that Mike died today, or Crystal was hit by a car, and you're dead and you're gone, and you can't, death does not allow you to come back and fix everything. Like say, oh, wait, don't kill me right now. Just give me a couple hours, give me a few days to go, make some final arrangements and get ready. Death just takes you. Death does not care. Death will come in and it has no sympathy for you. It cares nothing about what kind of plans you've made. It doesn't care how busy you are. It doesn't care how many people depend on you. It literally just comes in like the worst thunderstorm imaginable, and it will just take you and give you no second chances. There are no second chances once you are dead, unless somehow there's another afterlife where you get to make up for things that you didn't do in this life. I don't know. So that means that really, if you really are thinking about wealth planning, and this is a good time to think about this, and let's get past me and my grief with my uncle. And thank you all so much for your condolences. I appreciate everything that you guys are sharing right now. But I don't want it to be about me. I wanted to sort of share this thought with you that, really, if you're really on your game when it comes to financial planning, I challenge you to go out and live your life in a way where you think you could die at any moment, right? Or live your life in a way where you think you probably only have 6 months left. It doesn't mean, go out and go do crazy white people stuff like jump off mountains and go swim with sharks and things like that. But I'm talking about when it comes to your death planning, go ahead and do it in a hurry. Get it done. When I reached out to my lawyer and my accountant and my insurance person, and it doesn't cost a lot to have these people in your life. Like, you can have a lawyer in your life for a very short period of time, just with Rocket Lawyer and stuff like that. And you have to have an accountant if you run a business. So it sounds fancy, like, oh, my lawyer and my accountant, but I really didn't need all of that. It's just my death planning is a little more complicated because, my name, even just my name alone is worth money, right? So I have to plan for all these things, right? But when I met with them, I remember saying, yeah, we got to meet and we have to meet soon. I need to meet you soon. And that's because every time I get on a plane, every time I get in the car, every time I walk out the house, anything can happen. There are people who are not that old who have strokes out of the blue, and you're gone, and I just want you to really, without me sounding preachy towards you. I mean, I'm being a little preachy, a little teachy, because that's what you guys asked me to do. And so I'm going to teach and preach a little bit because I want to help you, but I'm not preaching in a way where I'm being judgmental. If your financial scenario is sloppy, then don't be embarrassed by that, because everybody's financial situation has been sloppy at some point. Almost everybody, unless you were really fortunate. Most people have had some sloppiness in their financial life. It's no shame to have that, but what you do want to challenge yourself on is making sure you kind of clean some of that up, because now, my uncle, he's gone, he's transitioned, he can't come back and fix anything. And I remember having conversations with him about, his life, when he was approaching 50. I remember him, reflecting on bad financial decisions and financial moves that where he's trying to fix and clean things up, clean up his credit. I think I'm not sure exactly what was going on, but I remember there was some talk about kind of repairing some financial damage. And he said, gosh, it kind of stinks to have to do all this when you're almost 50 years old. And I remember saying to him, I said, we were in Applebee's in Louisville, Kentucky on I forgot what the street is. It don't even matter. Most of y'all don't live in Louisville, but I'm just over reflecting here. But I remember saying to him that day, I said, it doesn't matter how old you are. And at this time I was much younger. And I remember I said, I don't care it doesn't matter how old you are. Start now. Just start now. Just start fixing it now. And fortunately, he had a good maybe 15 years to start that march back to financial stability that he had been seeking for his family. And he achieved that. And I mean, to make it even crazier, he and his wife had just bought a beautiful house. I mean, just bought the house this week, just closed on the damn house. I'm talking about where it's so new that you're sleeping on the floor because the furniture ain't got there yet. That's how untimely the death was, but that can happen to anyone, right? And so, but the thing is, they bought this house because for many years he had been positioning himself to be in a position of financial health that he wanted to be in, right? And I don't know what his death situation is, and I'm not even here to put anybody's business on Front Street, so I can't do that. But what I will say is that if there's anything that can come out of this, I mean, the way I work through grief, the way I work through sadness or pain is I say, okay, we're going through the pain. Now, what's the gain? There's got to be a gain. There's got to be a lesson. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. So every time I lose, every time I go through pain, every time I go through loss or agony, I always say, okay, all right, universe, all right, God, whichever one you're called, tell me, let's figure out where the lesson is, And I said the best way I can show tribute to my uncle's loss is to share these thoughts with you openly, in a way where I encourage you. Look, it's the holidays, damn it. It is Thanksgiving. You getting together with family. If there's ever a time for you to make a commitment right now to take your financial life to the next level, this is it. This is it. This is a time for awesome opportunities for transformation. This is an awesome opportunity for you to live the life you've always wanted to live, to be who you want to be, do what you want to do. I don't know what that is. It might be something as basic as losing weight. You guys have seen me in my weight loss journey, where for a decade I sat around saying I was going to lose weight. I kept saying I was going to lose weight one day, but I went from level 1 to level 2. So instead of saying I'm going to lose weight one day, I said I'm going to lose weight today. So I went from level 1 to level 2 thinking. So in your life, I encourage you over these holidays, go from level 1 thinking to level 2 thinking. Stop talking about what you're going to do one day and start talking about what you're going to do today. Even if you're taking baby steps, if you start something new today, then that's going to put you in a place that you could never imagine in terms of how far you can actually come. And my uncle, that's one thing I can say I'm very proud of him for. He was a very smart man, one of the smartest relatives I had. And I saw him improve his life significantly in the last 10 to 15 years that he had on this earth. I assume that he probably thought he had another 10, 15, 20 years left. But he didn't get that, but he made the most of the time that he had. And I want you to do the same thing. So Christmas is coming, right? Holidays are here. Black Friday is coming. That's the time where people are shopping. That's when they're sucking the money out of your pocket like a vacuum cleaner. That's when they're trying to get you to do every financially sloppy thing that you can think of. spend, 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 make it rain on them corporations so they can suck up all your money, give all your money away to white folks. I encourage you to use this as a holiday for reflection too. As you're sitting there with your loved ones, and that none of us has an infinite amount of time in front of us, just make some type of financial move over the holidays that's going to put your life in a better place. So for everybody here watching right now, for number one, if you're not invested in the stock market yet, that's the easiest challenge I can give you right now is go ahead and download one of those apps, Acorns, Stash, or Robinhood, and put that first $5 into the stock market. And then when I see you, if we're talking, we're in class or wherever, just shoot a note to me. Tell me, hey, I just started investing. And if you really want to make me feel good, then you can say, I did it because of you, Doc. That makes me feel like all this is worthwhile, because I know all of us are going to run, hit the end at some point. And it makes me feel great to know that I played some part in making your life better. For some of you who are already invested, then that business dream you've always had, what are you waiting for? What are you afraid of? What are you preserving? Do you think that by playing it safe, you're going to live to be 180 years old? No, you're going to die at some point like the rest of us. You're going to get old, and one day the doctor's going to tell you that, you're never going home again. You got to stay at the hospice because the cancer has gotten too bad, or maybe a car crash will come, whatever it is. I mean, I hope none of those things happen, but they happen every day. You need to go ahead and jump in that business. Just do it. Real estate, same thing. Do something that's going to put your financial life in a better place, but then also think about what happens when you're gone. So now my uncle is gone, right? But it's not over. The game ain't over. The game isn't over. The game's over. His part in the game is over, right? He's played his part. He's exited stage left in this big performance called life, right? He's exited stage left, but the show continues. He's got children. He's got grandchildren. He's got people he's left behind. And all these people that he left behind are affected by the decisions that he made in this life. So if he made bad decisions financially and left nothing and no insurance, no resources, then they're going to suffer for that. If he left, if he had his stuff together, had some insurance policy, stuff like that, sure, people are going to be sad to see him go, but at least they'll get a check in the mail, right? Which will help them have a better life than he had when he was growing up. So ask yourself, I just need you to kind of do that. It's not fun, but I want you to kind of, what our family does is we actually have, we came up with this idea that we do in our family on a regular basis, where I told them, I said, it's so silly that we take our loved ones for granted, and then when they're gone, we cry and boo-hoo over the casket like we just would. Like if they were here, we'd be hanging out with them every day. But you got people that right now that are alive that you ain't talked to in a year, and you don't want to talk to them, right? But if they suddenly died, you'd be sad and everything else, which is fine. That's natural. But I said to my family, I said, why do we have to wait until we're dead to start saying nice things about each other? I said, why don't we do that now? I said, you know what we should do? We should give each other a mini funeral. But I don't want to call it a funeral because that sounds bad. That sounds negative. I said, let's call it a funeral. So instead of a funeral, it's a funeral. So in our funeral, what our family did, here's what we did. I'm not kidding. We all sat around and we talked about each other as if we were at the other person's funeral, right? And all the things that we might have been thinking that we never said, we laid all those things out. So I would encourage you to do that. But then you might want to try that with your family, but then also imagine your own funeral, and what do you want that to look like in terms of preparation? Imagine if you died today, what would that look like, financially and otherwise? And if it doesn't look right, don't feel bad about it. Don't get depressed about it. Just do something about it. In fact, the place I go for my insurance, the website is theblackInsuranceNetwork.com, theblackInsuranceNetwork.com. There's a nice lady named Yolanda who runs it. It's theblackInsuranceNetwork.com. She can get you any kind of insurance you want to get. I get all my insurance policies through her. She's done a great job for me so far. So feel free, to go there if you don't have your insurance right. And then if you want to learn about things like estate planning, stuff like that, everybody who's a Black Dragon family, you have access to pretty much all of that stuff. I know attorney Nicole Compton did a complete, very long module on on estate planning. She did several lectures on it in the Black legal program. So if you want to learn about that stuff, as well as maybe learn about the law, just log in at theblacklegalprogram.com. That's theblacklegalprogram.com. Or if you're a Black Dragon family, you can go to blackdragondiscount.com and log in. That's blackdragondiscount.com, and you can log in and you can get access to that. If your goal is to learn how to invest in the Black Stock Market program, which you guys have access to, you can get in there and there are videos that will show you how to do that. If you want to go deeper, you can actually get a certificate that certifies you in that area. If your goal is to get the business off the ground, we have really great experts in the Black Business School who know everything there is to know about starting a business. So there's no question that would go unanswered. Attorney Nicole Compton meets with students in Black Money 103 on a regular basis. So especially for those of you who are Black Dragon families, take advantage of your membership. Just log in, blackdragondiscount.com, and go through some of that stuff. Everything you need is right there. All I need from you is a little bit of your spare time. That's all I need. You give me a little bit of your spare time, I will give you something that far exceeds a college degree or college education. And so anyway, that's it. I just had to reflect for a second on my uncle, or I didn't have to. I didn't do it, just for me. I mean, it was therapeutic for me, and I appreciate you guys letting me do that. But also, my goal was to hopefully make it helpful to you, because just know, I mean, death is coming. It is what it is, and the only thing that makes death really bad is when you're not prepared at all for anything. And I can say that my uncle did take time to prepare, because that's what a real man does. That's what a real woman does. You prepare for when things happen that you don't expect. So you guys, so that's it. Now, what I want to do is, I see Dwight is in here from Next Height. How you doing, Dwight? I wanted to let you know, Dwight, you asked us to sign a NDA to analyze what's going on with your school idea. The reason I cannot sign the NDA is because we actually have plans in motion to start a school ourselves. I don't see myself as your competitor. I don't see myself as somebody that's going to come in and try to put you out of business, because literally we need thousands of Black schools across the country, not just one great school. We need 3,000-4,000 strong schools. So I would almost encourage you to consider a model where you can share your ideas a little bit more. I know that when I open up my school and kind of lay it all out there, I'm going to share my ideas with the public in terms of how we structure it, because I want people to replicate what we're doing. Why is that? Well, because I believe that we can generate revenue without it being competitive, without other people not getting a chance to get revenue. I believe everybody can win, because in fact, if you think about it, Black people already put billions of dollars into white schools, white universities, white public school systems, et cetera. So if just a fraction of that money is transferred over to Black schools, and there's plenty of great African-centered schools across the country, et cetera, all the schools can have enough money to function. So maybe if there's a way, if you want to share what you can without worrying about the NDA component, we can do that. But I cannot. I was asked my lawyer about it, and my lawyer said, well, you shouldn't sign this because you're starting a school, and we don't want them to think that you got all your ideas from them. But we've been talking about building schools for a very long time, but not to say we can do it as well as you. I believe that your plan is well executed, well laid out. But in terms of us signing an NDA, that would make things a little bit legally fuzzy, and I want to keep our relationship good. But of course, with you being part of the group, you can certainly still come in and talk to me about whatever you want to talk about. And Angela Green says, perhaps call it a celebration of life while they are living. Yeah, that's good. I think the word funeral is just cool. I just like that. I like the twist in words. So I just, I'm kind of proud of that, actually. But anyway, okay. So does anybody want to come in? If you want to come in and chat or talk, let me know. Raise your hand. I'm going to look and try to see if I can see. If I don't see you, let me know. Until then, what I'll do is I'll kind of hit on some stuff that I've been observing that you may want to think about this week. First of all, I want to let you guys know that we're going to have another Black Dragon family meeting. I'm thinking we can do one next Friday. And what I'll do is I'll put the registration link in with your materials at blackdragondiscount.com. If you log in at blackdragondiscount.com, you can get access to that, and the registration stuff. Yeah, let's do next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and that'll be the day after Thanksgiving. But but just to make it consistent. So I'll put the registration link in with your login at blackdragondiscount.com. How you doing, Jay Wilson? Good to see you. One of the things I did observe was this week. I don't know if you guys noticed, the stock market is kind of having some volatility. It's kind of going up and down, up and down. How many of you are invested in the stock market? Are most of you, participating and all that good stuff? If you're not, then definitely if you're part of this program, I really want you invested. It's not that hard to get started, and investing is really important because that's the most important step in terms of becoming a wealth builder, going from being a consumer to a producer. One of the things we teach the kids in the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, which I believe the Black Dragon families, all of you have access to it. It's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. In the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, one of the things we tell the kids is what we call keeping your poise, POISE. And poise stands for producer, owner, investor, saver, entrepreneur. So basically, the divide, if I were to draw a line between, wealth builders and those who build wealth for themselves versus those who build wealth for other people, you could literally say, okay, you got the producer who makes money from the consumer. You got the owner who makes money from the renter, right? You got the investor who makes money from, borrowers and things like that, right? Or you got the saver who makes money from, or makes money from, or makes money in contrast to the spenders, right? The entrepreneur makes money in contrast to the employees, right? Or they make money from the employees. So you almost have this line where you've got almost like these parallel universes. You've got the people that are actually accumulating assets, and you've got those that are creating and building the assets for the asset accumulators. And it really comes down to that poise model, right? So ultimately, if you want to sort of think about how you want to move things over the Christmas holidays in terms of what you want to do for your kids, stuff like that. Think about that POISE, and you probably want to, in the midst of all the toys you buy, get them some financial stuff. I would recommend maybe some books. Of course, you guys know about our flashcards. If you're interested in that, that's financialflashcards.com. That's financialflashcards.com. If you're a Black Dragon family, just email my assistant at assistant@boycewatkins.com. Show her a screenshot of your receipt, and she'll send you a box of the flashcards. Tell her I told you to do that, or told her to do that. And also, she'll send you your copy of Powernomics. So just go into blackdragondiscount.com, take a screenshot maybe of where you paid, and just email assistant@boycewatkins.com, and she'll give you guys she'll give you pretty much almost everything within reason that you might want. So if you want one of the books in the bookstore, or a t-shirt or some flashcards or something, I told her to give you guys a lot of free stuff. Okay, so I would recommend some sort of like financial education gift. I also recommend a share of stock or 2 or 3 for your kids. Maybe something in terms of shaping the culture of your household. I would recommend, just as a general rule, having something happen on a daily basis that involves economics, or at least every other day. Like what we do in our household is we have a sitter, and we tell the sitter to sit with the kids and work with them on the flashcards. Or also, I'll tell the kids, I'll give you $20 if you finish going through this, the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow stuff, or if you learn this stuff on real estate, right? Because we have the different modules on real estate and everything else. Little things like that, I think, can go a long way when it comes to the kids. Now, did anybody see the guy who won the lottery? He won $343 million. Let me see. There's a brother. He's actually a brother, and I thought I was really intrigued. Let me see here. He's a Harlem man, and I'll share the screen so you guys can kind of see the guy. Let me see here. Here we go. He's played the same number for 25 years, and he just won a whole lot of money. So let me share this with you guys here. Okay, so his name is Robert Bailey. He's 67 years old. Now, at the top of Robert Bailey's list is a trip to Vegas to gamble, and the retired government workers got plenty of time and money to live out his wildest dreams after claiming half of the $688 million jackpot. The Harlem native says He's been playing the same number for years and bought 2 tickets from the West Harlem Deli on 5th Avenue at 126th Street on a whim. I was taking care of a friend, he told reporters at the Resorts World Casino in Jamaica, Queens. I jumped out of the car because it was raining. Let me see here. I jumped out of the car because it was raining. And let me wait. Hold on. I lost my place here. This is stupid. These stupid screens move around. Because it was raining, ran in there, played my numbers, and ran out. A family member gave me the numbers over 25 years ago, and I faithfully played them. Those numbers proved to be priceless, so to speak. After taxes, he'll walk away with 125 million, the 4th largest payoff in U.S. history. I was watching regular college football, he recalled. Around 11:30 at night, I checked my numbers online. When I saw 8 and 12, I was shocked. I didn't notice the Powerball right away. Let's see. Sure enough, I was blessed. I was just in shock. I stayed up all night and wanted to see how many people were going to win, he said. I noticed that I was one of 2 winners. The other was in Iowa. While there's a superstition that says lottery winners end up broke in a few short years, Bailey does have plans to take some of his winnings to gamble in Sin City, he said, but he also plans to buy his mother a new home. God bless, she's still around, he said, noting the house would be somewhere in New York State or down south. I haven't decided yet. Hopefully I make good investments that will work for me and my family. Okay, good thinking. All right. Bailey didn't just jump out and claim his prize, though. He went to see a lawyer and a financial advisor to get some advice. Bailey is a single man, and his plans include ensuring that his children are well taken care of. I want to do the right thing to take care of the next generation of my family, he said. Lightning has struck twice for Bailey. He once scored $30,000 playing the same lucky numbers. Okay, so he's hitting the right chords. You know, I was a little bit concerned when he started off talking about going to the casino. That's obviously something that's going to ring an alarm bell for me. In fact, gambling addictions. If you ever want to go broke, if you ever really want to be in bad financial shape, a gambling addiction is a great way to do it. It's very, very hard to break, and it kind of creates like this weird financial quicksand, almost like getting into tax trouble. I think tax problems are probably the number one way wealthy people lose everything. And I would almost say gambling addictions might be number 2, and then up there with and then maybe drug addictions, and then spending, just like being too generous, almost like addictions to generosity. And so the gambling piece, I'd be curious to see how that plays out, how he does his gambling. The interesting thing about lottery tickets, though, is that lottery tickets are like this kind of thing where the people win the lottery ticket. They win a lot of money by making a very bad money decision. The bad money decision is to buy the lottery ticket in the first place. The statistics and probabilities say that lottery tickets are a terrible investment. That's why you actually have experts that have a big problem with the lottery, because what they claim is that wealthy people are feeding off the hopes and dreams of impoverished people by getting them to fantasize about winning all these millions of dollars and making all their problems go away. So you got these poor people that don't have a lot of money that are giving their last dollar to buy these lottery tickets, like literally buying them as if they're paying tuition or something like that. And ultimately, most of them don't win. It's almost like all the little kids in the hood that want to be rappers and NBA players. That's what they're doing. They're entering a lottery. And the cost of entering the lottery far exceeds the expected payoff from being in the lottery. And what keeps it going is a lot like the movie The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games was built on the lottery mindset of the poor. The Hunger Games basically said, look, we know that it's hard to commit to the system, but if you commit, then you might get lucky and be like this person that we're holding up in front of you who won the lottery, who was the big winner, who's now living the life that you can only dream of. And so people hold on to that dream, and that dream is what drives them to make these bad financial choices or commitment to a system that doesn't really work for them. So ultimately, lottery tickets are not the best way to spend your money, but I don't think it's something that should be condemned. I think everybody should have space in their budget for just financially stupid stuff, just stuff that gives you an emotional payoff, but nothing significant financially. I think that's okay. Part of the joy of money is to enjoy the money. For example, they say that if you are spending money, it's better to spend money on experiences than it is to spend it just on stuff. Like if you buy a bunch of stuff, they say that the satisfaction you get long-term isn't as great as it is if you spend it on an experience, like going on a trip to a place you might never go, things like that. So there's psychology and there's research to say that those are not necessarily bad choices. Also, it is a myth to believe that being financially responsible means that you never that you can never do anything. You can never buy, expensive consumer goods. That if you buy a pair of Jordans or a Gucci purse, that you're a complete idiot. That's not true. That's almost like saying that, if you eat that being healthy with food means you must never eat sugar ever in your life. You must never eat an unhealthy food ever. And that's not true. You can eat sugar. You just can't eat sugar all the time. You can eat candy. You just don't want to eat your candy before you eat your vegetables, right? So the key is balance. The key is to take care of the important stuff first and the extra stuff later. That's what they call what I call, not they. This is a term literally that I coined that I never heard anybody use it before. I refer to this as economic maturity. And what does that mean? Well, one of the critiques I've had of the Black community is that one of the reasons that we have a hard time catching up economically or moving forward economically is because we have a crisis of economic immaturity in our community. Well, what does that mean? Well, think about the way a child spends money. If you give a child $50 and then you take that child out and you say, what would you like to do with your $50? Well, what are they going to say? Most kids are going to say, oh, I want to get some candy. I want to get some toys. I want to go play video games, whatever, right? That's what kids do. That because kids are immature, right? Kids are not saying, oh, well, I'm going to invest in my 401k to make sure my retirement's good. Then I'm going to go pay the light bill, and then I'm going to go and get my car fixed, and then after that, I'm going to pay the rent, or the mortgage for the family, so we can have a nice place to live. Kids don't think that way, right? Kids don't expect their parents to come up and take their $50 and go use it to pay, the utility bill, right? So, now what happens in adulthood is you're not supposed to think like a child. You're not supposed to buy what you want and then expect other people to provide what you need. But you have some people who never grow out of that economic immaturity. They get older and you'll see them. One of my aunt that lives in Atlanta, it's so funny. She would tell me stories about people that she would work with where she did government assistance and would help people out, if they needed help paying their utility bills and things like that. And she said that there would be people that would come in and they would basically say, I can't pay my utility bill. I need you guys to help me. And what she would do after she investigated is she would find out that the reason they don't have money to pay the utility bill is because they bought the big screen TV, or they went to the casino every other night, or they bought, the Jordans or whatever. They have the nice stuff, but they can't pay the utility bill, or they can't afford to put their child in a tutoring program, but yet they're driving a very nice car. And so ultimately, that inability to do what you need to do first and then take care of your wants after your needs, that is the symptom of economic maturity versus immaturity. So an economically immature person is gonna go and enjoy their money and spend it on nonsense, and then they're gonna go beg for the things that they need. Whereas an economically mature person is gonna take care of the things they need first. Then they might go out and enjoy whatever's left. You see, so that's just a lot of thinking. Is very, very important to kind of process that. Also, another thing, and Dwight, I'm about to bring you in because I see you just raise your hand. If anybody else, wants to come in the Black Dragon group, feel free to raise your hand. Yeah, so the other thing about lottery winnings is that a lot of lottery winners go broke, right? So you say, well, how can that happen? Typically, it happens from a lack of understanding of what it means to have that much money. There's a video of a Black man who won $1 million, I think, in a casino, and he was a brother that had about 8 kids, or something, and all of his kids are broke now because he blew the whole million. And he talked about what he did, and when he got the money, he literally did exactly what a rapper would do. He did he bought the whole floor of the hotel. He was buying all kinds of liquor, going on all these trips and everything else. But then he wasn't just doing stuff like that though. He was being generous. He gave money to the church, the local softball league, his mama, stuff like that, right? And what I saw was not just the whole economic immaturity issue, but also just kind of a lack of understanding of just how much money that really is. Like Will Smith gave a really good example. He explained how he went broke. He after his first album, he said actually it was after his second album where they declared bankruptcy. And he said, I learned the hard way that $1 million is not a lot of money. And he said, that sounds crazy to say this, but $1 million is not a lot of money. And they said, what do you mean? He said, well, if you get $1 million, first of all, the IRS is going to take half. So if you say, oh, well, I'm going to be conservative and I'm with my million, I'm only going to buy a car or a house or whatever for 600,000. He said, you've already messed up. You're already overspent, right? And then he talked about agents and managers and everybody else taking their percentage of it, and to the point where it's much, much smaller than what you thought it was. And somebody who suddenly gets $10 million doesn't understand any of this. They don't understand any of the dynamics of what it means to handle all that money. So handling a big bank account is really like driving a super fast car when you don't even have a driver's license, or maybe you've ridden a moped in the past, or a bike, but now you got a Ferrari that goes 280 miles an hour. And if you don't drive that sucker carefully or get you a driver who can handle that thing, then you're going to crash that car. So, you take a regular person who is already making bad financial decisions because they're buying a bunch of lottery tickets anyway, which I told you reflects a bad financial psychology to begin with. But that person suddenly has $10 million. Well, it's easy to look at that $10 million like it's an infinite supply of money. Like you're never going to run out of money. Like literally, I know this because I remember when I was in high school, I used to get my paycheck. I used to work at Taco Bell or Wendy's, whichever one I worked at. And every time I got my check, it would be like, I would go cash my check and I'd have like $250 in cash. You couldn't tell me I was never going to run out of money. Like I literally felt like I had enough money to make it rain all week, right? Or for the rest of my life. Like I really felt like I would never run out, because I'm like, oh, what's $5? I got a stack of 20s in my pocket. What's $10 more here? $2 more there. Next thing you know, it would always happen every week. About a week later, I'd run out of money, and then I'd have to go back and work to get more money. It was a weird little like psychological thing, right? And so just take that and multiply it by 1,000. And that's kind of what happens when somebody gets that big check for $10 million. They really think they're never going to run out of money. So it's like, okay, what's $5,000 here? I got 10 million. What's $2,000 there? I have 10 million. What's another 40,000? I have 10 million, right? And so for a while, you're feeling good. You're feeling like you're Captain America. Your money's never going to run out. And then what happens is little things start to happen where you start to, maybe your credit card gets declined, or maybe you go to withdraw more money out of the account and there's nothing there, and then that's when reality starts to hit home and you start to sober up. But by that time, it's usually too late. And so typically, I believe lottery winners go broke. Similar to the reason, like my other uncle, I told you about my uncle that died yesterday, but I had another uncle that died about 7 years ago. And before he died, he had sued his healthcare provider, and he won the lawsuit after he died. And so his son got a big chunk of money. I mean, over $100 and something thousand, but knew nothing about how to manage the money. I didn't even know he even had the money. I found out the story after the fact. And basically what he did was every day he went to the bank every single day. He bought new cars for people. He bought, all kinds of clothes. He was extremely generous, and then the money was gone. And so a person who's never had that kind of money, I think a lot of times has a hard time even seeing money for what it's supposed to be. Money at that level, or really any level, but especially that level, is supposed to be seen like capital. What that means is that spending a significant portion of that money should be the last thing that comes to mind, because spending is an economic cancer. You think about the way cancer, like bone cancer, it whittles away at your bones till there's nothing left. Or you people that get bad cancer, they might just whittle away, like, get super skinny, right? Well, the same thing is true with spending. Spending is a financial cancer, because when you're spending, there is no return on investment when you just went to the mall. There is no ROI. There is no investment in stocks that you could ever make that would be as bad as the investment you make when you don't invest at all, or when you just spend your money at the mall. When you spend money, you're guaranteed a negative 100% return on your investment, because you're transferring your money and translating cash into some material item that is going to lose its value in about a year or two most of the time, right? Whereas with investing, if you're thinking purely in the space of investor, you're keeping your poise, POISE, producer, owner, investor, saver, entrepreneur, then what you're spending money, or you're putting money into things that at least have some shot of maintaining their value and will probably grow in value over time. So, for example, if you think about keeping your poise, like we teach the kids in the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, which I hope you'll put your kids in there. If you spend think about the P, you spend your money as a producer. Well, you've got your 10 million, you're thinking as a producer. Let's invest this money and produce a product that we can sell. If you are thinking about the O and you're investing your money as an owner, well, what does that mean? You're thinking, okay, I'm going to go on a shopping spree to own things. What can I own? What can I go? What assets can I go accumulate? You think about the I, investor. If you're using that 10 million and you're thinking like an investor, then that means you're putting money into, you're saying, okay, where can I put my money that's going to make my money grow? I need my money to work for me. That's what investing is. Give me an investment vehicle that's going to move me forward down the road, right? Spending is not a vehicle. Spending is a car that has no tires, right? You're going to sit still, or you're going to go backward. Whereas investing is a vehicle that should propel you forward economically. If you're using your money even as a saver, then savers aren't necessarily growing their money, but they're focused on holding that money, right? It's a mindset. It's all a mindset, right? The E is entrepreneurship. So if they're thinking like an entrepreneur, they're looking for entrepreneurial ventures to be a part of, either directly or as a silent partner. If you've got a lot of money and you're literally sitting on a bank, with all this capital, that means you have a tremendous amount of power to get to basically do something that you could never do as an employee. An employee can only work at one company at one time and make one paycheck. But if you have $10 million and you're a lottery winner, you've literally got 10 million little employees who can all go work on your behalf. So you just have to strategically position them in places where they can work for you. So if I'm sitting on $10 million, I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna create little investment tranches of about 10,000 each, where I'm gonna just basically have a Shark Tank in my house. I'm gonna tell her I'm gonna be just like the Godfather, and I'm gonna tell everybody, this is what we do. We actually do this in our family. I'm not making this up. And I just say, okay, I've got money, I've got capital. Bring me your ideas, bring me your best ideas. And they say, okay, Godfather, I would like to open a bakery. Okay, so tell me about your bakery. Well, I know where the customers are. I know how to make the best cookies. And I know that once I make the cookies, I can get people to buy those cookies. Okay, well, what's the return on investment? Well, I believe that we can, if we invest 50,000 this year, we can make 100,000 by next year. Okay, well, how much do you need to get started? Well, I need 3,000, for an oven, 2,000 for administrative, another couple thousand for employees. Okay, all right, well, give me 50% of the revenues or of the profits, and I'll give you that X amount of thousands of dollars that will represent me as if I was an employee. You go and you can do the work. You bring the expertise to the table. You handle all the customers. You think about baking. All I'm gonna think about is going out and bringing in the money that's going to allow you to even have a platform space for you to even operate on, right? That's a position that you can be in if you come into a lot of money. And so what I want you to really focus on is some of you are not in that place now, and I don't want you to give up. Number one, you can work yourself to that place. I wasn't always in that place in my own life. I had very little money growing up. But you can work yourself into that. But here's the thing. Even if you don't do it for yourself in this lifetime, you have an opportunity to make sure that your children will be in that position, that your children and grandchildren, some of you have grandkids, you have an opportunity to put them in that position. All you have to do is use this little thing called insurance. Life insurance is a great way to give your children and grandchildren some capital to work with. Another thing you can do is if you own a home, I know that my parents for years have been telling us we really want to pay off this house so that we can just leave it to you guys. So you guys will have this house that's worth however many hundreds of thousands of dollars, plus the life insurance that gives you capital. When you got capital, you can play the game of Monopoly a little bit better. Imagine trying to play the game of Monopoly when you don't have any cash, you don't own any of the properties, nothing. You're just sitting there. You're just a little naked thimble just going around the board, right? That's not fun. It's not fun to play Monopoly when you have no cash and have no property. But imagine playing Monopoly when you've got something to play with, right? Then the game becomes fun. So what I want you to really do is say to yourself, I want my children to be able to really play Monopoly. And they don't have to have a ton of money, but they have to understand that first step in wealth. The first step in wealth is something Louis Farrakhan was speaking about the other day, which I agree with 100%. By the way, if you log in with your login at blackdragondiscount.com, you can actually get access to ABNC Digital. Go into ABNC Digital. There is a 3-hour training I did with Louis Farrakhan in 2013 on a wealth, education, family, and community, the 4 pillars of building the new Black community, the new paradigm. That's what I refer to it as, the new paradigm. And one of the things that the minister has spoken on, which I agree with 100%, is that wealth does not come down to what kind of financial assets you have and what you can buy. Wealth comes down to knowledge first. knowledge is definitely the most important. It's the most important, and it's the easiest access kind of wealth that there is. It don't, it don't cost you nothing to read a book. It doesn't cost you anything to get on your phone and look things up and figure things out, right? And the reason knowledge matters is because when you have the knowledge, you then are the person who may not have a car yet, but you know how to drive a car if somebody ever gives you one, or if you ever get one. If you figure out how to build one later, you'll know how to drive it. So lottery winners, I think, go broke a lot of times because they get the fancy car and they just don't know how to drive it. And the other thing that was interesting about this guy is I was really surprised that he was so open. I don't think I'd want anybody to know that I won the lottery, because that's another dynamic that people who've never had money don't know about. They don't know about the pressure that comes with having a lot of money. When you have a lot of money and everybody knows it, then you become a target for everybody that wants to rob you, everybody wants to steal from you, everybody that wants to pitch a business deal to you, everybody that wants to come and give you a sob story, or anybody that wants you to feel guilty, like, oh, I raised you, I thought we were friends, and I need money for my rent. It becomes very difficult to operate like that, and to still, a lot of people say, oh, I want to keep it real, I want to be the same person I always was. Well, the reality is that it's very difficult to be the same person you always were when you have a lot more at stake. People that try to keep it real too long or too much end up finding out where keeping it real does go wrong. Like Tupac Shakur, I think, is a great example of that. Tupac was so caught up in trying to be super down to earth all the time, always the same person, always at the parties, always hanging out with the same people in the same spots, same situations. And you saw what that did to him, right? Magic Johnson, I thought, did a great little short video where he was talking about different levels. And he said, look, I was on your level. I was on that level. Now I moved up 2 or 3 levels. And now, I'm on this level. And because I'm on this level, I can't deal with you in the same level we were dealing before. I'm on this level, so the deals have to be at this level. And I think that leveling thing, we don't talk about it much because it comes down, it sounds arrogant and cocky to do that. But I can just tell you that the reason that you see some people that have lots of resources kind of be closed and guarded a little bit is because they've been hurt a lot by people that where money is on their brain all the time. It's almost like, especially when you're Black and you have a little bit of money, it's like having a lot of food and everybody around you is starving. Everybody around you is hungry. So they try not to think about the food, but they can't help it because they're so hungry. And what also happen is not only will you have situations where maybe people might, you might feel betrayed or misled or whatever, but you have situations where people will sometimes just flat out make promises that they can't keep. Because I used to think about that. There will be times, and this is a mistake I've made as a business owner. You hire somebody to do a job and you say, okay, I need you to do this job. It's going to take 2 hours a day. Can you do this job? And they say, absolutely. Okay, are you sure? Do you have the training? Are you skilled enough to do this? Absolutely. Are you sure? You sure that's going to work, right? And I'll pay you this much, and you do the. Yes, I'll do the job. I'll do the job. And so then you hire them, and they're, for some reason, they're not doing the job. They're either not doing it or the work is horrible, and you're just like, what? I used to be so confused. I'd be like, what the hell? Like, why would she just looked at me in the eye and told me she could do this, and this is garbage? Like, what is going on? And here's what I figured out. It's like the food analogy, right? People will sometimes lie to you, not because they're trying to be malicious, but they'll lie to you because they're desperate, or because maybe they're lying to themselves. They may tell you like, oh, I know I can do this. There's no question. Absolutely. But really they're thinking, okay, I can't do this, but I'm going to figure it out along the way. Right. Or yeah, I'm telling them I'll be available every day, from 8 to noon. But really, I've got this other job that's going to have me preoccupied, and I'm just going to hope that they never catch me because I really need the money. And so it made me think about food, because imagine if you have a bunch of food and somebody says, hey, can you give me a piece of chicken? And you say, okay, well, can you, if I give you the chicken, can you do this for me? And if they're hungry enough, they'll promise you anything to get that food because they're so hungry. So they'll say, yeah, absolutely, sure. Okay, next Tuesday, whatever you want. I'll give you my kids. I'll give you my house. I'll give you it, right? And then they don't follow through. A lot of times it's out of desperation. So a lot of times financial desperation will cause people to make promises that they can't keep. So you have to have other channels of being able to verify that the person can keep the commitment. So I got to the point where I had to start telling people, look, I know you're struggling financially, and I'm going to help out a little bit because I care about you, but I'm not going to hire you because I don't want our friendship to go bad. I care enough about our friendship that I'm not going to accept your commitment to do this job because I don't believe that you are going to be able to do a good enough job. And here's the reality. You don't play with my money. Look, if you and I make an agreement, I'm going to hold you to every line of that agreement. I'm not going to let it slide just because we're friends. So in order to preserve our friendship, I'm going to tell you no, because I don't feel safe risking our entire friendship on you making this commitment that I'm not sure you can keep. That took me a long time to get to that point. So those are just examples of little things you deal with when you start getting, control of more resources and you start doing different stuff that you kind of have to be ready for. And I don't think lottery winners are ready for that. They're literally just get a big bunch of money splashed on them and don't know what to do with it. If I was a lottery winner and I really wanted to protect my money, you know what I would do? I would probably, let's say I got $100 million, I would probably get some sort of trust set up by a lawyer that I trusted who wasn't going to milk me, and basically have the trust grow the assets and pay me some insane amount of money every year, enough for me to really have fun. Like give me, $500,000 a year to just act a fool with, to go to casino, whatever I want to do with the money, right? And the rest will be in the trust so it can grow like an institution. $100 million is an institution. That's why when an athlete, whenever you hear about an athlete that loses, that much money, you really got to imagine like they really have destroyed something that could have easily lived for the next 10 generations. They didn't give away $100 million. He gave away over $1 billion. Like that's because money is supposed to grow. So Dwight, I'm gonna bring you in. I know I said I would a while back, and I'm so sorry it took me a while. I had to make a couple of points, so forgive me for that. But Dwight, I'm gonna bring you in, and I'm gonna promote you to panelist. So hopefully you're still here, and we can hear what you have to say. All right. So while we wait for Dwight, there we go. I see Dwight's name on the screen. Dwight, can you hear me? I think you can hear me, but I cannot hear you. Let me see if I can unmute you. Hold on. Give me a second here. There you go. How you doing, brother?
Doing great. First, condolences, Dr. Watkins.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that very much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for looking at our information. The education part, we're not trying to compete. We're trying to complete the Black community. So we can have a conversation offline regarding the education component. What I want you to look at is on the financial assumptions that we submitted, 60% of all revenue, we are intentionally reinvesting back into the Black community. So now what I want to throw out to you as I lower my hand is, imagine what you would do if you take the number of sites that we could deploy, 60% of all revenue, first educating the Black community intentionally, investing in the Black community intentionally, building businesses, building those trusts and those financial estates, life insurance, group employee benefits. So the NDA component is not associated with the education part. It's associated with the businesses that will be related to 60% of reinvestment in the Black community intentionally. So I'll lower my hand, let you wrap your head around that imagine 60% of revenue from that type of industry, education, that you could in the Black community reinvest.
Okay. All right. Well, you said you're lowering your hand to me. What do you mean by that?
Oh, I'm going to let you talk now.
Okay. Well, all right. So, what I'm thinking is I want to ask, what is it that is stopping you from moving forward right this second?
Oh, there's nothing stopping us. We are in the final phases of our deployment strategies. Technology platform is being finalized. All of our curriculum platforms are finalized. The staffing formulas have been finalized. Performers out for 6 years. We're ready to launch, literally, even to the point to where we have our points for enrollment subscriptions set to the point to where it's so affordable, I could start tomorrow.
Okay.
So
So
the attributes of ensuring that it's done in excellence. So January is our target for deployment. We have a 10-year contract with a site in Philadelphia that includes 15 other states also. We're looking at in the Gulf Coast region, 8 sites. So before June of 2019, we're going to have some intentional sites that we're educating Black students. We're going to have intentional businesses built with 60% of the revenue. We're going to build jobs for Black people. We're going to train Black people. We are going to intentionally do everything that you have advocated. I'm not waiting on someone else to do what I can do. I'm not Bugattiing it. I'm not doing mansions. I'm doing Black community intentionally.
okay. Well then, I'm gonna tell you this, Dwight. Here's what what I think will help a lot with your cause. Every day when I go around the country, around the world, actually, every single day I hear about somebody that has a plan that's going to transform the whole Black community, right? I hear it all the time, right? And I believe it can be done. I believe that some of these plans are great. But what really helps the plan become real is for our people, for most people, you got to make it real. So what I would encourage you to do is the first year, go out there and make it real. Get some results, show some profitability, so show that you're making progress. And then when you come back a year later, make as much of the conversation about instead of just making about what you're gonna do, make it about what you've done. And then that gives people the ability to really believe it. Because let's just be real, people have talked about building schools and stuff like that. And know what I'm talking about? There was a big famous school that was going to get built that never got built, and people put a lot of money behind it. So what happens is I think people they get to the point where they're like, yeah, talk means nothing to us, and I'm gonna say I'm probably in that category. I'm a little skeptical when it comes to talk. I'm like, okay, all right, well then, okay, show me, but if you come back and you show me, like for example, Jay Morrison, who does the Tulsa Fund, came to me and told me he had this idea to raise a lot of money. And I listened, I heard it out the same way I'm hearing you out. And I believed, I saw where he was coming from because I saw Jay do a lot before, but I'd never seen him or anybody else raise $12-13 million like that. And he went through the plan. The plan was really, really detailed, really, really good. And I said, okay, now go do it. Go do it, and I'll support it. If people ask me like, hey, are you behind this idea? I said I will endorse it 100%. But I'm going to be watching to see if what it actually becomes. And he delivered. He actually got it done, right? So with yourself, I would say the same thing to you that I said to Jay when he started the Tulsa Fund is I believe it's definitely doable. So just show me, come back and show me those results. And when you show the results, what happens is it allows people to invest in something that is real. So if you have an avenue where if you say, for example, like at Freedom Home Academy International, that brother builds schools for he literally gets built. He'll take $5,000 and go start his school with $5,000. And next thing you know, he's educating hundreds of Black kids. We gave him some money because we said, okay, he's really doing this. It's nothing is theoretical with him. It's all real, So I would encourage you to challenge yourself to say, okay, how much of this can I show that's going to be real? In addition to the theoretical. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, sir. And that's exactly what we expected and would have anticipated. I come out of the evidence-based industry of education, and so have proven it in that industry. And so we're excited that you even have given us a respect of validity of a plan. And so again, when we start dropping that 60% next hike blows up, we definitely look forward to working with you and realizing and exponentially expanding that plan of Black community, real, not theoretically.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, it reminds me a little bit of Jay Morrison. You and your partner remind me of Jay a little bit in the sense that, the fact that you're even here, like to even be in this special class. An investment had to be made. I know that you and your partner flew all the way to the All Black National Convention. any little step like that that shows that you are serious, like you're really putting energy and resources behind it, that helps separate you from the crowd a little bit, because everybody's talking and there's so much noise, especially from where I'm sitting. I'm here every day. I wish I could show you my email with how many people are telling me they have $1 billion plan that's going to transform all of Black America. And I love it. It's an important first step. You got to make that first step to initiate the idea. But not that many people are really even willing to put $20 into their own idea. And I don't, and I know that anything that I've been able to build, it came from, putting almost everything I had into it financially, and then also putting years and years into it. So if I come to somebody with an idea, I use what I've accomplished as evidence to show, like, I'm not just talking. I know how to actually get this done. So I would encourage you, like, document all of that. And then, with you being like part of the Black Dragon program and everything else, I will support you. Like when you're accomplishing things, as you're boxing your way through the beginning, because I know it's tough, to get the resources and everything. I will support in every way that I can to open as many avenues as I can to support, to help you get to where you're trying to get to, because what I think the idea is great. I can tell you put a lot of energy into it. I look forward to seeing it, man. So just, keep coming back and let's keep on talking. And as you take every little step, just update me, because I know you can do it. I know that what you're doing is not crazy pie in the sky. I want you to do it. And let me know how I can help.
Yes, sir. Thank you again. And again, condolences to the family. Be blessed, sir.
All right. You too, brother. I'll see you soon. All right. So you saw Mr. Dwight Brannon. His company is called Next Height LLC. They are out of Houston, if I'm not mistaken, or it could be Dallas or put that in the chat, brother, so I don't get your city wrong. I don't want to get Dallas mixed with Houston. I am actually going to be in Houston pretty soon. I think around December 8th, we're going to have a little pop-up event. I'll let you guys know about it. Let me see here. Are your recordings going to be in the membership area? I missed the first webinar. Yes. Tracy, in fact, actually, I'm going to put the last one in there. If you just log in at blackdragondiscount.com, that's where you guys signed up, blackdragondiscount.com. Just go there and look in there, and the material should be in there, as well as access to all the other programs that you have access to. Let's see here. Steven says, last week you recommended the book Traction, great book. Yes, the book is very good. He says, in it, the author poses a question: would you rather have a $10 million company with a 20% profit or a $100 million company with a 2% profit? It's the same net profit with considerably more work at a higher complexity. Yes, I'm curious which side you fall in the equation. The $10 million company with a 20% profit is probably my preference, because you have less BS to manage. That is a company that you would consider to be more financially efficient, because they're getting a higher return on capital. They're getting 20% off their capital as opposed to just 2%. So yeah, if you have to, it's almost like when you mine for gold. I don't know if anybody ever seen what it looks like when they mine for gold. To mine for gold, they literally have to get something like thousands of pounds of dirt just to get an ounce of gold. It's insane how much dirt they have to go through to get just a little bit of gold. Well, running that big company just to eke out a 2% profit is kind of the same way. You got this big, gigantic beast of a company you're trying to manage with all these employees and all this chaos, all this liability, all this risk. And any little thing that goes wrong, like, if you're doing $100 million in business, and let's say that something just goes wrong, you have a bad year, that could wipe out all your profit for the year because you're operating on such a slim margin. But when you have a big profit margin, like 20%, then you got some wiggle room. It's like a big margin of error. Like if I'm driving, the difference between driving down a big 6-lane highway where there's nobody else on the road versus driving in those little construction zones, when they shut off half the damn freeway and you're scared to go too far left or right because your car might hit the concrete. Like that's kind of what it feels like to run the $100 million company with the 2% profit versus the $10 million company with the 20% profit margin. So yeah, I would prefer the $10 million company. And now there are some people, there are theories on this in finance. There are some people that are what they call empire builders. Empire builders are people that just want to run a big company. And that's typically not so much the shareholders. A lot of times it'll just be the managers. Sometimes you have CEOs that just like to say, I have a $100 million company, or I have $1 billion company. Because even if they're not making a big profit, they still have this big Death Star of a company that they can go and do all these, interesting things with, right? So there is a bit of an ego trip and a bit of a power thing going on when you have that big, massive company. But honestly, my preference is I like to keep it lean. I like to keep the margin of error wide. And at the end of the day, it's all about, your efficiency on your capital. What are you getting from the money that you've invested, right? That's what it comes down to. Okay, so everybody, I'm gonna go ahead and take off, and we will have another meeting at this time next Friday. So I'm gonna put the registration link where you can come in and you can talk to me about your families and everything at blackdragondiscount.com. So I'll put it in there right now. I'll also load the recording from this weekend, last week. I forgot to put last week's in there. I'll put last week's in and this week's tonight. And that's pretty much it. So it was great to see you guys, and thank you all for the condolences and well wishes for my uncle. I appreciate it, and my family. Yes, it is a very tough time. But every dark day has a silver lining. Every negative situation has a positive that you can grab onto. And one of the things I believe in is I believe deeply in the power of relentless optimism. Relentless optimism is that you work hard to find the bright side. You squint to find the silver lining. Like, you just are determined and motivated to find the positive that can come out of every situation, because that's really all you got. That's what you hold on to. That's the hope that keeps you going when times are tough. So every day in my life, I'm always saying, no matter what I'm dealing with at that moment, let's go find that positive. Let's go dig in there. It's in there somewhere. It's either gonna make me feel good right away, or it's gonna make me stronger, whatever the situation is. So everything you're going through, everything you're fighting through, the key is to fight. The key word is fight. You got to fight through it. So look for that positive silver lining. I think my uncle would want it that way. He would want me to be talking to you in this way, to not just celebrate his life, but to make sense of his sacrifice and to make sense of all of this, and to say, what is the higher purpose in this, right? So that's what you look for. So I want you to go find the higher purpose in everything you're dealing with, everything you're going through. Forget about the silly stuff. Forget about the silly people. Forget about the small things. You got to think big, and think bigger than where you are, and use the holidays as an opportunity to do that, because that's when you're going to be reflecting. That's when everybody's going to be on another planet, just sitting around enjoying Christmas. Well, I think this is a good chance for you to change your life. So go change your life and change your life for somebody else. And that's what's going to make you special. All right. So, and everybody will be singing your praises at your funeral. They'll be, happy that you were here, just like I'm going to celebrate my uncle's life at his funeral as well. So I'll see you guys soon. You have a great day. And I'll talk to you later.